All right. Hello, everyone. I am here today with Andreas Reiter, who is going to give us a fantastic new, not new, but a fantastic prospecting idea that he's been doing for a number of years. And we just never got a chance to put this out on the recording. And before he gets into it, I'll just tell you one of the things I think is great about this idea, as you'll hear, is that it allows you to not only prospect, but also practice your prospecting and practice really get over your fear and improve your courage muscle. So just the act of doing it, I think, has benefits other than the potential results. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Andreas Reiter.
All right, we're
There you
good to
go.
go.
We're good to go.
The idea of this, like Michael said, is that it gives you some practice, and there's a couple of applications um, that can be used. The one that I talked about at MCOM last was if you happen to just be on the road driving about and you see someone's business advertised on their vehicles. So a lot of times you'll see a real estate broker or car maintenance, sorry. um, Landscaping maintenance is a common one. But anyone that really has one of those magnets or a phone number or something advertised on their side of the car, obviously don't start texting or making a phone call with your phone while you're driving. But if you can, take a photo, write a number down real quick with your, whether you're at a stop sign or a red light, and then hands-free, make a phone call to the person right away. And the conversation can go something like this. Let's say it's a real estate broker. The guy's name is John, and you give him a call and say, "Hey, John, this is way out in left field, but my name is Andreas. I'm a financial advisor here in the city of Orange, and I literally was just standing next to you a couple of moments ago on Batavia at the red light, saw your advertisement on your car, and wanted to find out if you're already working with a financial advisor or if you have anything going on for retirement planning, because that's what I specialize in, retirement income planning." And then, you see where the conversation goes, and you can personalize it. If you happen to have a nice Mercedes or whatever, make a comment like that, make it really personal so he knows that you did in fact see him just down the road. Um, and then see where the conversation goes. And the idea really with any type of prospecting for the most part is, as much as you do want to get an appointment or an opportunity out of it, you want to get practice, and that's more so for newer people, but also for people that have been doing it for a while or veterans. It's always good to go back to the basics. So ultimately, it'd be great if we got an appointment out of that. But the idea is really just to get your feet wet, to practice. Regardless of what he says, you're going to learn something, and then you can use it going forward. And depending on how the conversation goes, if he's open to it, great. You could set up a tentative appointment. Let's just say more often than not, most people will not be interested, and that's okay. But a good follow-up to that is, yeah, I know you're busy. This might be the wrong time. Do you mind if I follow up with you in, let's say, 4 to 6 months? And if he says, yeah, sure, no problem, you give him a call in 4 months and say, hey, remember that guy? And then you go from there. And the same can be done with business cards that people place on bulletins or on boards at coffee shops. It's a lot of times it is real estate brokers or insurance agents, but do the same thing. Pick up the card, tell them you saw it at the local Starbucks or whatever it was or wherever it was, and mention what you do, be brief, and ask for an appointment and just see what they have going on. So that's the general gist, whether it's someone on the road or a business card that you find at a local coffee shop.
Good. Okay, I just had to unmute myself. That's fantastic, Andreas. I'll make a few comments. One of them is another phrase that you can use is this is just a shot in the dark. One of the things you want to learn in this business is come up with a variety of phrases and catchphrases and ways to segue and ways to, and so Andreas said, this is coming out of left field. This is a shot in the dark. Things like that. There's probably a dozen other phrases, but you learn them. And so it makes it easier for you. The second one I'll say is that it's never as hard as the first one. And I remember a long time ago, I remember hearing many, probably 20 plus years ago in this business. So some trainer I was listening to in our business was talking about the power you feel. He said, here's what he said. He said, the amazing self-empowerment that I feel by being able to pick up a business card on the concrete in a parking lot that someone had dropped and pick it up and very possibly get an appointment. Like you're creating something out of nothing. And I always remembered that. And that is true. That's the great thing about this business. One of the negatives that people have is that every day you're unemployed, every day you're looking for new clients, what have you. But at the same time, that's also the benefit is you can just create business out of nowhere. So as Andreas said, it's not just about getting the appointment, but it's also about improving your ability and whittling down on your fear and kind of the obstacles that you have. The great book by Ron Holiday, The Obstacle is the Way. And that's kind of what that is. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is the thing you need to do, and it will actually make everything easier. The other thing I want to add is Andreas talked about following up. You can do that the way he said it, but here's one little idea too. 9 out of 10 times when you're calling a business card or someone that you saw, like Andreas said, on a sign on the side of a car or a truck or a van, it's usually nowadays a cell phone number. What does that mean? That means it can be texted to. So one of the things you could say after you do your little talk and is not interested is tell you what, would you mind though that when I hang up, I just quickly text you my information and a little bit more about what it is I do. And I promise you I won't bother you. If you're interested, you can message me back. Fair enough? And then do that. And I mean, what if you do 2 or 3 or 4 of these a day, 5 days a week, and after a year you've done hundreds of these, right? Maybe someone does, right? And then in terms of what you send them and all that, you can talk about that later. Some of you have the e-card, with Isla's professional photography, and it has your information. That's obviously what I would send. Or it's just a link to your ParsonX webpage, whatever. But the texting, the point is, it doesn't really matter what you send, actually, but that's the point. One other thing I'll say is, if you get someone that's interested, you go, well, I guess I'll hear you out. What I would segue into, in case you're wondering, is the coffee script. I wouldn't open with the coffee script. I open exactly the way Andreas said. But then if they want more information, the next level of depth of data that you're going to transfer is I would do the coffee script. And then at that point, either you try to get an appointment, or at that point, they might say, well, can you send me something? And then that's when I would try to get their email. If not, then you text them. But use it for anything. Call anytime you see a business card. In fact, and I would always tell the truth. Let's say you literally find the business card in the parking lot, laying on a parking lot. Call them up and say, hey, my name is Michael Thomas. I'm a financial advisor in the area. I happen to come across your business card. Believe it or not, I saw it in the parking lot when I was getting in my car. And I just believe in serendipity. So I figured I'd take a shot in the dark and call you. And on the business card, you probably see what it is. Oh, I guess one more thing. What I would try to, if the business card is someone that you would suspect is a 1099er, like real estate, like landscaping, they work for themselves basically, then as Andreas alluded to, I would say, hey, shot in the dark question or a question out of left field, but if you don't mind me asking, are you paid on a 1099? And I go, yeah, why are you asking? So I'm not trying to get personal. The reason I ask is, as I mentioned, I'm a financial advisor, and I specialize in retirement planning for self-employed and independent contractors. There's things that you can do that the normal person can't. So, and then you just go from there. So that's an idea. Andreas, any comments on that or thoughts about all that?
All good stuff. And even if you might be able to text them afterwards, still put them in your Rolodex and your Google Contacts under, prospects, and then you can subcategorize it if you want to on the fly or whatever. And then do, in fact, when you get back to the office, make a calendar entry 4 months from now, call real estate guy John and call him, and then reference the conversation you had and make it as personal as you can. Write the notes the conversation you had in the notes of the contact, and something along the lines, hey John, you and I spoke 4 months ago. I happened to bump into you on the road. and you said it was okay for me to give you a call to see how things are going. Here I am. How are things going? Something like that.
Hey, one
Definitely.
small adjustment. One
Yeah.
small adjustment I'll make to that is and I learned this also from someone else a long time ago, is when you call back, you don't have to just, I would necessarily wouldn't say, you said it was okay for me to call you, unless they grill you on it, like, who are you? But I would say, listen, you may not remember me. My name is Michael Thomas, but 4 months ago we had a brief conversation on the phone when I came across your phone number on the side of your van. I mentioned I was a financial planner, and I promised I would give you a call 4 months later. Say, I promised I would call you.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it. And you may not remember me, so that's the cleaner way I would say, hey, I promised I'd give you a call. And like you said, guys, or Andreas said, is make that calendar entry. One more thing I want to add is when they tell you no, and we said the whole thing about, either be able to call them back, and or text them some info right when you're done driving. But you might want to actually explicitly ask for an in-between. It's basically an in-between a yes or a no, which is, can I get your email and I'll put you on my monthly email list. And the way you would phrase it, the guy says, no, I'm not really interested. I tell you what, I don't mean to bug you. I don't mean to beg you, but would you have any objection is if I put you on my email list? It's a monthly client newsletter. I don't do it more than once a month. I only do it 12 times a year. I won't bug you. But that way you can find a little bit more about what it is I do, and there's some great tips about financial planning. Would you be open to that? Would you be open to that? That's a nice way. They go, well, I guess so. So if you give me an email, I promise I won't abuse the email. I would overdo that about, I only do it 12 times a year. I do it once a month. I'm not going to send it more. I'm not going to abuse it. I would over exaggerate that, because that's what people are afraid of. And then if they say, well, I'm really not comfortable. So tell you what, I understand. I'm not going to ask you twice. But when I park or when I'm done driving, I'll just text you some info, and then you can take it from there. So that's the progression. I would go appointment. If it's a no, get permission to be on the email list. Obviously, you have to get their email. If it's still a no, and then you do the texting. What do you think, Andreas?
Yep. That's it. That's all you can do.
Yeah, try it. Can't hurt. Doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost you money. The time is negligible. Can't hurt.
I'm not doing anything else anyway.
Yep. Good. But again, try to make your talk a little bit specialized in what it is they do, if at all possible, without lying, without fibbing. But
right.
So awesome, man. I appreciate it. That's great.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. We will talk to you all later.
Alrighty.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.